Hey guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movie theaters. As many of you are aware of, about a month ago, Trolls World Tour became available for streaming and video on demand. It has since gone on to see quite a bit of success. So much success, in fact, that CEO of NBC Universal, Jeff Shell, went to the Wall Street Journal and made a comment. In an article on Collider.com written by Gregory Lawrence, the statement goes, "The results for Trolls World Tour have exceeded our expectations and demonstrated the viability of PVOD, Premium Video on Demand. As soon as theaters reopen, we expect to release movies on both formats." Now, on the surface of that statement, anyone would just say, "Congratulations, old white guy, you made a lot of money, we're so happy for you." But ever since then, almost days apart from each other, this statement has caused a maelstrom of drama, pettiness, and honestly, that's all I'm really taking away from it. I mean, there's some nuances, but really, let's get into it. Almost a day later, president of the AMC theater chain, Adam Aron, made his own statement regarding what Universal was saying. For 100 years, AMC Theaters has served as a strategically critical and highly profitable distribution platform for movie makers, and for all that time, the exclusivity of the theatrical release has been fundamental. When a movie is only in theaters, consumers perceive it to be higher quality entertainment. Countless filmmakers and moviegoers perceive that their creative works are best enjoyed by consumers on the big screen. We all know that those theatrical releases indeed boost publicity, positive word of mouth, critical acclaim, and downstream revenues. Universal stated it only pursued a direct-to-home entertainment release for Trolls World Tour because theaters were closed and Universal was committed to a lucrative toy licensing deal. We had our doubts that this was wholly Universal's motivations, as it has been a long-standing desire by Universal to go to the home day and date. You can just hear the snide contempt in these words. Nonetheless, we accepted this action as an exception to our long-standing business practices in these unprecedented times. This radical change by Universal to the business model that currently exists between our two companies represents nothing but downside for us and is categorically unacceptable to AMC Entertainment, the world's largest collection of movie theaters. Holy God! That is some ego fluffing right there. Going forward, AMC will not license any Universal movies in any of our 1,000 theaters globally on these terms. Oh wait, here comes my favorite part. Accordingly, we want to be absolutely clear so that there is no ambiguity of any kind. AMC believes that with this proposed action to go to the home and theaters simultaneously, Universal is breaking the business model and dealings between our two companies. It assumes that we will meekly accept a reshaped view of how studios and exhibitors should interact, with zero concern on Universal's part as to how its actions affect us. It also presumes that Universal, in fact, can have its cake and eat it too. Jesus! That Universal film products can be released to the home and theaters at the same time without modification to the current economic arrangements between us. Seriously, I've seen schoolyard brawls that are more intense and intellectual than this. It is disappointing to us, but Jeff's comments as to Universal's unilateral actions and intentions have left us with no choice. Oh God. You guys are gonna sit down, start negotiating like motherfuckers. You're gonna give yourself plenty of choices. Calm your tits. Therefore, effectively immediately, AMC will no longer play any Universal movies in any of our theaters in the United States, Europe, or the Middle East. This policy affects any and all Universal movies per se, goes into effect today and as our theaters reopen, and is not some hollow or ill-considered threat. It's a petty one, though. It feels really petty. Is anyone else getting a petty vibe out of this? Incidentally, this policy is not aimed solely at Universal out of pique or to be punitive in any way. It also extends to any movie maker who unilaterally abandons current windowing practices absent good faith negotiations between us, so that they as distributor and we as exhibitor both benefit and neither are hurt from such changes. Currently, with the press comment today, Universal is the only studio contemplating a wholesale change to the status quo. Hence, this immediate communication in response. Please, y'all were just bitter. Y'all are just butthurt. While Universal's unilateral pronouncements on this issue are unpalpable to us, as has always been the case, AMC is willing to sit down with Universal to discuss different window strategies and different economic models between your company and ours. Wow. Boy, that's a real change of heart right there. However, in the absence of such discussions and an acceptable conclusion thereto, our decades of incredibly successful business activity together has sadly come to an end. Where to start? Oh, I've probably made this clear a dozen times reading that thing, but by God, this just feels like everyone's getting up off their seat and just like screaming at each other, but in like a press release kind of way. It's like someone read that on their computer and then just like, I will retaliate. It feels so, oh my God, it feels so childish, just how quick the response was. And you can just hear the bitterness, the venom that is pouring by the bucket loads into each and every one of those sentences. It's just incredible. And if that wasn't enough, AMC was not the only ones who released a statement similar to that. NATO, the National Association of Theater Owners, also released a similar statement. Basically, if you don't know, NATO owns all the big movie theater chains and quite a few smaller independent ones too. So you can tell they'd be pretty miffed about this as well. But then almost a day later, in addition to AMC and NATO letting their feelings out in the open, the Regal Cinemas also released a similar statement. In an article on MovieWeb written by Justin Case, in this article it reads, Universal's move is completely inappropriate and certainly has nothing to do with good faith business practice, partnership, and transparency. We invest heavily in our cinemas across the globe, and this allows the movie studios to provide customers all around the world to watch the movies in the best experience. There is no argument that big screen is the best way to watch a movie. It kind of depends. Once again, I've seen some bad movies in theaters. Not always. But of course, because they unleashed a torrent of hellfire, Universal ended up making a second statement. And that one reads, going back to the Collider article, as we stated earlier, going forward, we expect to release future films directly to theaters as well as on PVOD when that distribution outlet makes sense. We look forward to having additional private conversations with our exhibition partners, but are disappointed by this seemingly coordinated attempt from AMC and NATO to confuse our position and our actions. Boy, someone is really trying to feel like the better man here. Subtly saying, this should have been handled in private. Well, okay, to be fair, I do understand where everyone's coming from. I know I've been busting AMC's balls quite a bit here, but let's start with Universal since they're the ones that capped this all off. I think we all kind of expected that if Trolls World Tour did well, this was always going to change the landscape. Everyone expected this to happen, provided it was successful, and it is. So now everything is thrown into a big question mark. Unfortunately, it feels like the AMC and Regal and NATO, none of them really did ask that question. If the average Joe like me or any other YouTuber out there can tell you that this is kind of a big old what's gonna happen, yeah, it's it's kind of a wonder why these folks didn't. But to make matters worse, and let's pretend they were that nearsighted. That the fact that this president, Adam Aaron, right? Is that who it was? Anyway, the fact that he so quickly released a statement, it feels so childish. It's so petty. Like, it feels like a schoolyard brawl between two children. If it's true that Universal made this decision without letting anybody know, yeah, you can understand why these theater outlets are pretty miffed. After all, this kind of hurts the business. Like, now these movies that are being released directly to the home, that's business that they're not seeing. And movie theaters, if you really do the math, if you really look into it, they've been struggling for a long time now. And the fact that theater prices have gone up exponentially since, well, for the last few decades as well, it's only kind of incentive for other people to stay at home, especially if they have like large families, seeing kids' movies like this. It'll save them money. But at the same time, can you blame them? Can you blame Universal? They found out that their gamble can pay off. It's business. The writing is always on the wall. People will always look out for number one, especially when it comes to their own well-being. That's just how business works. There's always mutual gain, of course, but like I said, you gotta go where the money is. And if the money isn't in movie theaters, well, what can you do? You gotta go for the next best thing. And video on demand has always been kind of a question mark. Is this viable? Trolls World Tour said yes. My heart does go out to the many employees who are staying at home. They are unemployed right now, thanks to this pandemic. So the fact that Universal is unfeeling to that does kind of make them seem sleazy too. So more or less, I am on AMC's side. I just kind of wish they were more adult about it. The same goes for Regal. So what are my thoughts on all this? Well, I'm a purist. I love the movie theater experience, so theater outlets don't have to worry about me staying home. And I do remember a lot of people online saying that it's kind of a ripoff. It was $20 for a rental. That's ridiculous, at least for one person. But it also depends on who you are. Like I said earlier, if you're a family of if you're a large family, even a small family, you saved money in retrospect. $20 to rent this thing in the comfort of your own home, save money on food alone. You can hit the pause button to go to the bathroom. It affords a lot of opportunities that you just don't get at a movie theater. I don't have to worry about that because I know how to hold it in. I'm potty trained that way. On a personal level, I see where everyone is coming from, but I also have to criticize everyone for how they're handling this. Moving forward, yeah, I will never stop going to the movie theaters. I will always be there. But as for the higher-ups handling the situation, y'all need to tone it back a bit. My prediction is that they're going to get together. They're going to start negotiating. New ideas, new plans are going to be put forward. How that affects us as the consumers is up in the air. It is going to be an interesting time when things start reopening. I don't know if I'm excited or curious or afraid or just all of that. Jeez. Anyway, thanks for watching it, guys. I love this story. I wanted to put it out there and put my own thoughts on there as well. So, stay safe and healthy out there. Hope to see you soon.